G'day, Paul from Vocal Pro here. You know, when you go to sing, there's a thing that happens where you'll be trying to get your voice working, and what we do is we tend to spend all of our time trying to make sound, because obviously singing is a vocal procedure. Obviously, it's the singing. That's not really where the technique happens. The technique of your voice actually happens just before you sing. It's kind of like, I call it the singer's backswing. So if you think about playing tennis or golf or something like that, you know that the swing up of the racket is just as important in the technique as the follow through. And that's what tends to happen with singing. So we tend to ignore that bit. Or if you're playing golf, it comes up. With tennis, you know that if you want to, I'm terrible at sport, you should see it, but I'm presuming. So you've got to run over to where the ball is, and then you've got to get your footwork into position. The grip of the racket's got to be in the right spot. The arm comes back a certain way, and then the follow through. And if you do all that preparation, then the follow through takes care of itself, or it's another part of the process. But essentially, that bit actually is working because of the setup. So that's what happens with singing as well. It's all in the setup, and the setup happens in the moment before you sing the line. And it's a very simple concept when you get it, but at first, until that's explained to you, it's very easy to miss that bit. For the reasons that I just said, we always think that we want to just vocalize, la la. So what's some of the things that we set up before we sing? Well, our tongue position. We know that if we just go, oh, I've done a video on that, where we place our tongue is super critical to the sound that we create. So we've got to get that into position. So that obviously happens before we sing. Our larynx height's another one where the setup of that, if I sing in a lower larynx, I get more of that sound. If it's a higher larynx, it sounds more like that. How much twang? Ah. So that's important as well. What we do with our jaw. There's a bunch of other things. Lifting the roof of the mouth, the soft palate, so that we block our nose, so it doesn't go through the nose. So when you're singing, one of the things that you want to develop is you want to develop that technique of the setup before you vocalize. That's key. Because then what you've got is a two-step process where you can focus on one step, and then when you know that that's right, you can then move it into the other step, which is the vocalization bit. So here's an example, a real-world example that's going to make a difference for you. We know that the way that we control our breath it's the strum of the guitar, it's the hit of the drum, it's the bow of the violin. So for us, it's the airflow that creates our voice working. How we breathe in determines how we breathe out to an extent. So when we're talking about breathing control, what we're actually talking about is what's happening when the air is going this way, but it's actually the air going this way that's a setup, and I'll show you what I mean. If I breathe in like that, a few things have happened. Firstly, I've created all this tension through my body. My larynx is sucked down. And now I'm causing constriction in my throat because the body wants to hold the air in. So you'll notice when you breathe in like that, you also get tightness through there. Okay. So that makes it very hard to control the outflow of the air if in the setup, the way we breathed in other words, we've gone, because now all the body wants to do is let it out again. So now in our singing process, the actual vocalization part, it's making it very difficult. It's making it very difficult for us to actually sing with any control because we've got this big thing of air behind us that we're trying to navigate. So if you just go a little bit above what's called REL, the resting expiratory level, so you're not breathing in or out, it's just that. If I just breathe in a little bit, now my body's not under any stress. And if you're using good air control, good air conservation, breathing conservation, you don't need to use much air really when you're singing. That's one of the secrets behind being a good singer. So now, because you're not using much when you breathe out, you don't have to take as much in. But that's a catch-22 because you don't have to take as much in, you also don't have the tendency to use too much when you sing. See the cause and effect of that? And that's one of the other things too, because people think that they have a breathing issue. In other words, they have a breathing control issue. But the breathing control issue was created by taking in too much air at first. And then because they took too much air in, they used too much air. And because they used too much air, they then had to take more air in to try and get through the line. And it's a vicious circle that continues. So here's the tip for you. Here's the technique or the training for you with this video. You take a little breath just above your resting level. And then whatever exercise you're doing, whether it's a lip roll or whatever it is, should occur to you as a lot more calm and a lot more relaxed. And at first, you may find that very difficult. At first, you may have the habit of doing that. And the answer to that, well, not the answer to that, the other thing that I was going to mention too, is that you're going to have to bring conscious thought to it, because at first, there's a natural tendency, nearly 100% of people that come and see me on a weekly basis, when they first start, there's a natural tendency when I get them to control their airflow for them to go like this. And I think, I don't know the reason for it, it's nearly 100% of the people do that, but I think the reason why is because we're thinking of like going underwater, so we've got to hold our breath for as long as we can, but with singing, you're taking a breath every line or two anyway, so that doesn't matter, so it's an illusion. So if you just take a little breath, and then when you do, let's take a lip roll as an example, they seem to be pretty common exercise. If I go, now I've got a clear lip roll where it's not breathy. And that was created because of the way I breathed in. If I breathe in like this, there'd be more of a tendency to go, just to let it out so your body would get back to a feeling of rested and normal. Yeah, it's a little tip for today. Hope it's helped. If you like what I do, hit the subscribe button. It's a channel that I haven't spent too much time on. I've been busy coaching and doing other stuff, but hit the subscribe, hit the like, all that stuff. We all know how YouTube works. And if you want to know more, head across to vocalpro.com.au.